If he had his pipe, he would hit her in the head. He was also acting up on the bus, yelling at other riders, even laying in the walkway at one point. We would also be requesting a social worker visit for him, but I do not believe he should get out on a signature bond. You heard he's got 5 FTAs just since 2021 in the past 5 years, as well as numerous criminal trespass, um, shoplifting. So, based on the history alone, I'm asking for the 1,500 good bond with the 500 or 1,500 on the simple assault, 500 on the disorderly conduct.
Okay, Ms. Thomas.
Yes, Your Honor. I was unable to have a effective conversation with Mr. Brown due to some of the concerns that I have. I think there may be some MH concerns, Your Honor. Um, from what I could get from Mr. Brown is that he's 26 years of age. Your Honor, just with the lack of information, I am requesting a social worker to go down there and to do an evaluation on him. Um, we would just ask to be able to revisit the bond matter after we get the evaluation from our social worker at SAP. A bond no more than $500 for each count, Your Honor, but I need to get a social worker down there.
Okay. It will be a $500 good bond on each charge, makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. Social worker visit to assess for an MHET. No further contact with Ms. Jones. Stay away from Marta. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. I'll revisit this once I hear from the social worker on February 25th.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Brown. Who do we have next?
Sir, can I talk to you, please?
We'll go with position number 10.
Sir,
Okay, I've already issued your bond. I'll be able to talk to you later, Mr. Brown.
Sir, sir, they lied on my name. I didn't do nothing to them.
I'm sorry, this is position number 10, Mr. Glass.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Glass. You have been charged in case 25 CR 000702E with battery family violence. I have his history. Mr. Howard, you don't have to sound that. If Ms. Tucker or Ms. Thomas needs it, we can get it to you. But everything that I see on here, I don't want it sounded. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, this was Mr. Glass.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yeah, we would be asking for a $2,000 good bond. The facts allege that $2,000 good bond with conditions, no further contact with Tierra Hodrick, and to stay away from 5505 Hilltop Pass, Fairburn. It's my understanding that the defendant and the victim were living together. They were arguing about the defendant bringing women over to have a threesome with them in front of her because she wouldn't leave. So she threatened to bring a guy over herself. This defendant got very angry with that, jumped on top of her, punched her in the head and face several times, resulting in swelling under the eye and an abrasion to her leg. We did attempt to call the victim. We were unsuccessful, but if we could sound for Tierra Hodrick.
Ms. Hodrick is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. I was able to speak to Mr. Glass, and he is adamantly denying the allegations. Mr. Glass expressed that he did want Miss Hodrick to leave his residence. She did not want to leave. She ended up breaking his glass window. So any injuries that she did sustain is a result of her damaging his property. Mr. Glass is 43 years of age. He shares only a son with Miss Hodrick. However, the son does reside with the mother. They're no longer in a relationship, excuse me. He's a Georgia resident lifelong. Mr. Glass is also currently employed as a diesel mechanic, Your Honor, and he's been in that occupation for over 10 years and at his current job for 1 year, Your Honor. I'm not sure of his history, but I would be requesting a signature bond on Mr. Glass's behalf. And if he's ineligible for a signature bond, then a bond amount no more than $1,000.
And it will be $1,000 good bond, no contact with Ms. Hodrick. And you tell me that the Hilltop Pass address is his address and Ms. Hodrick does not live at that address?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll give him a one-time police escort to go back to Hilltop Pass to make sure that Ms. Hodrick is not there. If Ms. Hodrick is not there, I'll allow him to stay there. If she is there, he'll have to collect his belongings and find somewhere else to reside. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You said 1,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Good luck to you, Mr. Glass.
That's a 1,000 good bond.
Yes.
Next, we'll go up position number 12, Mr. Knight.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Knight. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000704Y with battery, family violence, terroristic threats and act, obstructing or hindering persons making an emergency telephone call, and criminal trespass and damage to property. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Fifth adult arrest, resident of Valdosta. He's on probation out of Lowndes County for aggravated assault. What else? Yeah. That's it.
Okay. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking for a $4,000 good bond on the battery family violence, a $2,000 good bond on the terroristic threats, a 1,000 good bond on the hindering 911 call, and a 1,000 good bond on the criminal trespass for a total of $8,000 good bond with condition no further contact with Jaleesa Williams, as well as to stay away from 3871 Red Wine Road in apartment 1201 in Atlanta. The facts allege that an argument about employment got heated. The defendant pulled a knife from the drawer and stated, "I'll kill you." The defendant then pushed the victim, causing her to hit her head on the cabinets, causing a laceration to the top of her head. He then put his hands around her throat until she told him to stop. Tried to call 911, but the defendant was pushing and pulling her, causing her to drop her phone. She then went out to the car where the defendant got on top of her car, tried pulling the windshield wipers off. She remained in the vehicle, locked in until police arrived, but she saw the defendant go kick in her door, and then later she found he had broke her television and her $200 full body mirror. We did speak with the victim. She let us know they are in a relationship. They no longer live together, but they have in the past. They have no children. This incident location that I've asked for the stay away is her residence. She confirmed the events in the warrant, stated he grabbed her by her neck, but we did a comprehensive strangulation assessment. We're not going to transfer it as an aggravated assault strangulation. But ultimately, she states that they've been in contact since this incident. It did happen in January of this year, and she still wants contact with this defendant. However, based on, the violence alleged, as well as he's on probation currently for aggravated assault, the state's position is still that $8,000 good bond with no further contact and to stay away. She did let us know she'd be on the Zoom, so if we could sound for Jaleesa Williams.
Ms. Williams, I see you there. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. You'd have to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in if you choose. Yes, ma'am. If you can raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I'd like to tell the court that this was a misunderstanding. I, would like grace on his bond or a signature bond. Anthony Knight is not a violent person. This is the first time we've had an altercation. We are in good standing. We're seeing therapy in regards to our relationship, but he's a good person. And it's just like I said, this is a misunderstanding at the moment.
I don't understand what's misunderstood. Explain to me what the misunderstanding is.
Just a misunderstanding of the argument, of just applying a lot of pressure on him, regarding just being a better person. Just like I said, the misunderstanding was just me being more so aggressive with just, pressuring him to be a better person.
Okay, well, you tell me what he did, not what you're pressuring. For what Ms. Tucker says that you were locked yourself in a vehicle because you were so afraid of him before the police arrived. Did that happen?
Yes, I did go to my vehicle for safety, just to de-escalate the situation.
Okay, did he lay any hands on you?
We did get physical, yes.
Okay, and when you got physical, what did he do?
Like I said, well, like stated, we did get an altercation. We both placed hands on each other. He did place his hands around me, but it was strictly for a second. And like I said, it was just a huge argument that broke out.
Has this ever happened before?
No.
Okay, what type of counseling are you in?
We're in couples therapy at the moment, and then I take regular therapy.
How often do you go to couples therapy?
We go to couples therapy twice a week. We have a session coming up on the 17th.
Well, if you go twice a week, okay. Thank you for being here this afternoon, Ms. Williams. Ms. Thomas?
Sorry about that. Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Knight is 30 years of age, a lifelong Georgia resident. He's a father of 4 children, ranging in ages from 10 to 4 months. However, he doesn't share any children with Ms. Williams as it was expressed to me, but I could have that wrong. He completed the 12th grade. Mr. Knight expressed that he is currently employed at the Southern Outdoor and Company. He's an independent contractor. He's been working with that company for approximately 1 year. He expressed that, however, Your Honor, despite him working, his finances kind of strained. I believe he might be paying child support. I'm not sure. I didn't get that far, or question him that far as about his finances. But as far as the relationship, he did express that he and Miss Williams do not live together. And he would ask for no further violent contact. We obviously will leave it to the court's discretion as to whether or not they should still be permitted to have any contact, Your Honor. But he doesn't have any belongings at the residence. He's not living with her. As he expressed to me, just given his lack of finances, he's not going to be able to make a high bond. So we are asking for a reasonable bond to be set. If a bond of no more than $4,000 can be set for Mr. Knight, Your Honor.
Okay. For the battery, it'll be a $3,000 good bond. For each of the other charges, it will be $1,000 good bond each. Makes for a total of a $6,000 good bond. Since Ms. Williams tells me they're in therapy, I'll have no further violent contact with Ms. Williams. They are to remain in therapy. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Knight. You as well, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Next, we got position number 14, Mr. Lattimore.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lattimore. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0007068 with battery, certain acts, bus, rail, or station prohibited, public drunk, and possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Third, got open theft by receiving, possession of tools, and obstruction. He had a simple battery against public school employee that was NOD, public drunk that was dead docket.
Yes, on the battery, we're asking for a $2,000 good bond with conditions no further contact with James Edward and to stay away from Marta. On the prohibited acts on a bus, it's a $500 signature bond. On the public drunk, 500 signature, and on the possession of marijuana, 500 signature for a split bond with 2,000 good and 1,500 signature. The facts allege this defendant got on a MARTA bus super drunk, was cursing at passengers. An altercation with the bus driver, Mr. Edwards, led to the defendant punching him in the face. The search incident to arrest found marijuana hidden in his underwear. Bus service had to be canceled and the bus completely taken out of service. So, for those reasons, we're asking for that split bond.
Thomas?
Yes, Your Honor. I've been able to speak to Mr. Latimer. He expressed that he's 20 years of age, a lifelong Georgia resident. He completed high school, Your Honor, and he currently lives with his mother, Miss Maxine Hinton. I don't believe he's been able to have any contact with her since he's been in custody. He's also unemployed. He has previously worked with the temp service, but currently he hasn't been working with them. And he does some side work with his mom doing graphic design. Your Honor, I'll be asking for a signature bond for Mr. Latimer, just given the lack of finances. I don't believe he's had any contact with any family and would be able to have any financial assistance. I'm not sure what his mom does for work, outside of the graphic design, from what he mentioned, Your Honor. But just, I didn't hear any significant history, Your Honor. So I'm asking for a signature bond on his behalf, or a bond no more than 1,000.
$2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For each of the other charges, a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 2 makes for a total of a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial level 2. 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Mr. Edward, stay away from all MARTA, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Latimer.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go on position number 15, Mr. Lagon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lagan. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000708G with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
His fifth arrest, on probation for ag assault, 2024 FTA, 2021 terrorist threats obstruction conviction, 2021 parole violation.
Proctor?
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking for a $2,000 good bond with conditions no further contact with Brianna Kane and to stay away from 211 Honeycutt Street in Atlanta. These facts allege that this defendant showed up outside of her place of work to give her some money, but physically mushed her face into the ground, causing swelling on the side of her face. Then he fled the scene. That's why this case occurred in December of 2024. We did call the victim. We were unsuccessful at making contact. But based on the history, you heard a 2024 FTA, you heard he's on probation for ag assault. You also heard that terroristic threats arrest. We'd be asking for a $2,000 good bond with condition no further contact and stay away.
If Miss Brianna Kane is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Mr. Legan is 39 years old. He's from Georgia. He has a good address on Haas Avenue, his mother's house. He has the prior arrests. He has seen to those matters. He has a good job as a security guard, unarmed, of course. He watches the monitors and goes around to check the physical property. He would ask the court to consider a signature bond at this time.
It will be a $2,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Kane. Stay away from the Honeycutt address. If that's her work address, he's to stay away from the work address. He's also to stay away from her residential address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Next, we'll go position number 19, Mr. Rowe.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rowe. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000712E with 2 counts of simple battery, family violence, and possession of marijuana less than an ounce. To your history, Mr. Howard.
Second, 2021 battery DV dismissed.
Thank you. Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on February the 10th. Police officers actually observed this altercation and stopped the defendant and the victim. This was at 2867 Piedmont Road Northeast. The defendant and the victim had left the BP gas station. They said that the young woman in front of you, Imaya Carter, here on the Zoom, reported that they'd been arguing all day and the defendant had been drinking. She broke a nail and he took her to the BP gas station to get a Band-Aid. Officers saw blood on the front and back of this young man's shirt. He was upset that his shirt was ruined because there was blood on it. The victim reported that they'd been fighting all day and he'd been drinking again, but that he didn't cause the injury to her finger. Police actually encountered the defendant driving his car at the location near the BP gas station on Piedmont Road. They saw the hazard lights were on, that it was driving and starting and stopping, and then abruptly stopped with the rear of the vehicle in the roadway. The defendant was seen exiting the vehicle. He physically grabbed the victim and began trying to force her back inside the vehicle. She was seen resisting. The altercation continued. Police activated their blue lights. At that point, the defendant got back into the driver's seat of his vehicle and tried to reverse and leave. He was stopped. He's described as agitated and uncooperative. Police spoke to Mrs. Carter. She said that she, had left because they argued. He is talking to other women, and he told her at the gas station he didn't want to be with her anymore, so she didn't want to get back in the car, and she started walking home. He followed her in that vehicle as she walked and was trying to get her back into the car. They live together. They reported that she's pregnant. They both reported they were going to go home and stay together. When the defendant was arrested, he had some marijuana in his front pocket of his pants. He had red marks on his arms, scratches. We did speak to the victim, Your Honor. She reports they're in a relationship and they live together at 3097 Maple Drive, that they share no children. She confirmed what occurred, and she said he was just trying to guide her back to the car. He wasn't being violent. Nothing like this has ever happened before, and she is not in fear. I would note, Your Honor, that multiple jail calls this defendant has made today to the victim and to his family members illustrate that he believes he didn't do anything wrong, that the victim should have just walked away, that his mom should get him out of jail. there's a concern here for retaliation. There's a concern here for intimidation, Your Honor. In the second jail call the defendant makes to the victim, she tells him she's got bruises and scratches everywhere. His mom asks him what happened exactly. He said, she walked away and I was chasing her. I was trying to put her in the car and the cops pulled up behind her and me. The only reason this is family violence is because I was trying to be nice to the police officer and I told them she was pregnant. The defendant has been cited or arrested 3 times since 2023 for driving the same vehicle in and around the same area in possession of marijuana and a firearm located in his vehicle.
Did he leave this creek?
There's some concerns, Your Honor, in this situation. This again is an incident that officers actually witnessed. There was no 911 call. This was just in the street. We'd ask for a $4,000 surety, no contact with the victim, Ms. Carter, to stay away from wherever she's living and to surrender all firearms, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And if you'd sound for Ms. Carter, please. Thank you.
Ms.
Oh.
Carter, I see you there if you would
Sorry.
like to.
The battery
Do you
family
need-
violence in 2021 was against his brother. He also discusses with his family, calling that same attorney to try to help him again.
Thank you. Ms. Carter, if you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me, please.
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
That from the beginning, when the officer first arrived, there was a lot of misinterpretation from her viewpoint. Like from the beginning, he was never trying to flee the scene. He was only just turning off his car. The distance between the car and the officer's car was not like a big distance for him to be trying to flee the scene. I do not have any bruises or anything. The only thing was my nail was broken due to I work in a service injury and I was getting off work, and that was the reason of him taking me to the gas station to get the Band-Aid. Nicholas is not a violent person. We haven't had any altercations. The drinking was way earlier. That was like 2 p.m. He wasn't under the influence of any alcohol or drugs. We were arguing, but it wasn't to the extent of like, I'm fearing for my life, because I was telling the officer that there was no like ill intent between what was going on. He was just making sure that I was going back in the car because we were on the street. I don't have any complaints or any like fear of him. We do stay together. He does take me to and from work, which is another thing. They were asking me if they towed his car, which was not supposed to happen due to the fact that she told me that she was going to ask him to release the car to me or to somebody else to come get it. That was never like happened. And then the whole point of the altercation was him trying to get me into the car, and the police left me there stranded after they took Nick. They refused to take me anywhere. They refused to answer any questions. I was literally telling her that like what you witnessed wasn't going on at all. Like, we're not a violent couple. Like, we don't have any altercations. Like, nothing like that has ever happened. I did not accuse him of speaking to any other women. That was not the basis of the argument at all. So like a lot of the stuff that has been said was not true.
Why don't you want to get back in the car?
Honestly, I was going to get back in the car. I was just like, milking it a little bit. Like, I just wanted to see if he cared, if he was going to get me in the car or not, which he did. And I was literally getting into the car as the police came up.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carter. Has this happened before?
No altercations, no violent altercations, no adultery. Like, we have a very good relationship.
Okay. Appreciate you being here this afternoon, Ms. Carter.
Thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Nicholas Rowe is from Georgia all his life. He's age 25 now. He has 2 years in the university systems, doing a semester here and a semester there after graduating high school. He eventually is shooting for a 2-year degree, Your Honor, but first he has other plans. And the young lady we heard from is aware of those plans. He is going to be enlisting in the Navy. His recruiter is waiting on some kind of passage medical waiver to come through, and if that goes well, he'll be in for a 3-year or possibly a 4-year hitch, he believes. So he doesn't have his rating yet. They don't do that until you're in, and he's got his fingers crossed. And we would ask the court to consider a signature bond, Your Honor. That's all we have. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Carter.
I forgot to address the blood on his shirt. He wasn't aggravated. He literally, because my finger was bleeding profusely, and he was allowing me to wipe the blood on his shirt. It wasn't like we were like fighting or anything, and that's how the blood occurred. It was just from my finger bleeding. And he was wearing a white polo t-shirt, so it was just like, you know, when your finger's bleeding, I was just wiping it on his shirt.
How far along are you, Ms. Carter?
In the pregnancy, that is up in the air. I wanted to wait to see if not or so. Like, I haven't actually took the test, but
She's not pregnant. They talk about it on the jail call.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
just trying to manipulate the police officer.
Oh,
Just like
okay.
everything you're hearing is all a lie, and there's a reason to explain everything.
Your Honor, that is not true whatsoever.
Okay, well, you answered my question regarding the pregnancy. Thank you. All right. For each of the simple batteries, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the marijuana possession, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 3 days of anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Carter, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you both.
Your Honor, would you include in that order that he surrender firearms, please?
Yes, and that surrender any firearms, and if there are any firearms.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good luck to you both.
Thank you.
Who do we have next?
We got position number 20, Mr. Smith. Please, thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Smith. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000713Y with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Your history, Mr. Howard?
8th, 2023 FTO, 2018 battery DV, disorderly conduct conviction, 2012 trespass conviction.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. I did add there's a second obstruction charge associated with this case number. This is
Okay.
from February the 10th at about 8:07 a.m. at 70 Hamilton E. Holmes Drive Northwest. That's the MARTA station. The defendant, while Officer Leonard was investigating and arresting someone for their disorderly behavior, the defendant repeatedly came up behind him, tried to interrupt his process, refused verbal commands, and interfered with the investigation of the officer on scene. He was taken into custody as a result. We're asking for a $2,000 surety to stay away from all MARTA and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, Your Honor.
Okay. And so what you're telling me, Ms. Allen, is that there are two
Yes.
obstruction charges. Okay. Ms.
One for
Bridgewater?
refusing to follow commands and the other for interfering with the investigation and officers trying to detain someone and arrest someone lawfully.
Thank you. Ms. Bridgewater, do you have that? Or do you need anything further on that?
I have it, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Mr. D'Anthony Smith is age 30. He's lived in Georgia all his adult life. All your life entirely? In his entire life, excuse me. Education is 12 years, Your Honor. He has had previous arrests for the traffic. He did have one FTA once, but he says that's a misunderstanding and that won't happen again. He works in a security job, Your Honor. He has done so for about 5 or 6 years with different employers and 1.5 years with his current employer. He has a Charter Oaks Drive in Atlanta address. They rent from the owner. And so he feels his mail address is, his mail delivery is stable there. He'd ask the court to consider a signature bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2 on each charge, makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Stay away from MARTA, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Smith.
Good.
Who do we have next?
Next we have position number 22, Mr. Sutton.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sutton. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000711H with terroristic threats and acts, 2 counts. My understanding that this is Mr. Sutton's first arrest. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from the 10th of February. Police were called to the location by a third party, specifically the sister of the victim. The victim is Shariah Woodard, Charyiah. She and the defendant live together. I'll get you the correct address. I apologize. 911 notes indicate that the sister of the young woman, her name is Kalitra Woodard, Kaletra, is the 911 caller. She called police and said her sister just called her, said her boyfriend has a gun to her head, that he is going to shoot her, and she could hear the defendant making threats to shoot Mrs. Kalitra as well if she came to the location. The sister called 911 and police responded. On the scene, this is now about 3 a.m. Police responded. The defendant and the victim, Mrs. Shariah Woodard, were separated. They were asked what happened. The defendant told police he came home from a Super Bowl party and his girlfriend accused him of infidelity, that they argued and it was never physical. The victim told police that they'd argued. She asked where he had been. They discussed infidelity and that she called her sister for help. Security guard who lives at the location reported that he heard the altercation. He heard very loud arguing, and he heard the defendant tell the victim he was going to get his gun and shoot her with it, and he was going to shoot her sister if her sister came over. That's when police pulled up instantly at that point, right when he heard those things. Police noted that while they were on scene speaking to the defendant, he was very belligerent, kept saying police weren't allowed to come into his house and he knew his rights, and he has many firearms registered to him and he will defend himself if anyone tries to fight him. He did call the victim multiple times from the jail and make sure that she has his guns. She reported that the witness who spoke to police did actually see some things, that he saw you pulling on me. I don't really want to say anything about it on the phone, but we'll talk about it when you get back. The defendant repeatedly talks about how the only reason he's in jail is because of her sister. And for that reason, there's a concern for intimidation here, Your Honor. We did speak to the victim, Mrs. Woodard. She says that they're in a relationship and live together. They have no children, and that this was all a big misunderstanding. I would note, she didn't say anything about the threats with the gun on the scene. She was instantly protective of the defendant. It was the 911 call that documented the gun, and it was an actual witness to these threats being made. And the reality is this gentleman does admit he owns multiple firearms. We'd ask for a $6,000 signature bond through pretrial. He's never been arrested before. We'd ask for a surrender of firearms. It's the state's opinion that no contact is what's appropriate, to stay away from that location and have no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. If you would call for Mrs. Woodard in case she's joined us. Thank you.
Ms. Woodard is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Yes, good afternoon.
My
Good
name,
afternoon, ma'am.
my name is
Can
Sophia Bird.
Okay, hold on for me 1 second. Raise your right hand. No, you're fine. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. And tell me who you are again.
My name is Shalia Woodard.
Okay, and who are you to Mr. Joseph Sutton?
He is my boyfriend.
Okay, what would you like to tell the court, ma'am?
Like I told the police officers, it was a misunderstanding, the whole situation. I did tell them he did come home at 1 late at night. But when I called my sister, it wasn't my sister heard yelling over the phone, so she automatically thought like, oh my God, what's going on? But the whole time it was nothing like that, and he did not have a gun, or he did not say he was going to shoot anybody.
Okay, and where did this happen?
You said when did it happen?
Where?
It happened at our apartment.
Okay, so you all live together?
Well, yeah.
Either you do or you don't.
Yes,
What
we
do you
do.
mean? Well, okay. And does he have firearms in that apartment?
No.
Okay, I believe. And you said we have a lot of misunderstandings today. What was the misunderstanding?
The misunderstanding, the like they said, infinitely, that was true. But the part about my sister, like she called the police, yes, because she didn't know what was going on, and because we were in the house, she wasn't here. So that was the misunderstanding. She got it wrong. So yes.
Okay. Did he hold a gun to your head?
No, he did not.
Did he threaten you with a gun?
No, he did not.
Okay, what did he do?
I was actually holding him, like I was literally holding him back. I was trying to calm him down, pretty much just like the other guy who made a statement. We were literally trying to hold him back because he was, I don't even know, I guess he came from where he came from, and yeah.
Has this ever happened before?
No.
And how long have you and Mr. Sutton been seeing each other?
2 years.
Okay. How long have you been living together?
1.
All right. Okay. Thank you for being here this afternoon, Ms. Woodard.
Your Honor, if I might inquire just briefly of Ms. Woodard.
Okay.
Ms. Woodard, what would you need to hold the defendant back for on the scene? Can you explain that for me a little bit?
He was actually under the influence because he came back from a Super Bowl party, and he came back like 2 hours after the Super Bowl party. So that's where the whole I asked him where he came from. So yeah, he was drunk. I mean, well, not drunk, but he was under the influence. And he was like falling down, and so yeah.
You said you had to hold him back.
Yes, we were trying to just calm him down. He was up, he was pumped up. I don't understand why. And I mean, I asked him a question, accusingly, I guess. So yes.
Who's we? Was there someone else with you?
No, me. Oh yes, the security guy downstairs who also they said made a report.
Okay, and so he was helping you hold the
Yes, he
defendant back?
was.
Okay. Did you talk to the defendant through phone calls from the jail?
Yes, we did.
Do you remember when he asked you if you have his gun?
Yes, but I don't.
Do you remember telling him you have the gun?
Yes, I remember, but I don't have it. He asked me, and I don't have the gun, but I know who has it.
Did you just tell the court when they asked you that the defendant doesn't have any guns?
Oh, I thought you guys said that I don't.
All right, so I'm going to ask you, let's try again. Are there any guns in the household that you share?
There are no guns in our household at all.
Does the defendant own any guns?
Yes, he owns one gun.
Where is it?
I don't have it recently. His sister has it.
And so when you spoke to the defendant on the phone today and he asked you if you have his gun, you were lying when you said you did?
Yes, I don't have it, but I know
You were
he has
lying
it.
when you told him you had his gun and not to talk about it on the phone because they're listening?
Yes, I don't have it, but yes.
Yes, what?
Say that one more time for me.
Why would you tell the defendant you have his gun on the jail phone calls?
Because I know who had it. I know who has it.
Okay.
Like I promise I don't have it. I
Okay.
promise. I
And
don't.
so how did someone else get it?
They came and got it, I guess, but
When was that?
I want to say after the police left.
So his gun's now not at your residence. Somebody came and took it from the scene after the police were called and he went to jail.
No. He's very can you repeat what you're saying right now, ma'am, please?
Somebody came and took the gun from the residence after the police came.
No, nobody came and took the gun. I'm telling you, I never had the gun. I don't know who even said he had a gun. I'm telling you, he asked me, did I have the gun? I'm telling you who has the gun. Like, I know who has the gun, but I don't have the gun. The gun was never at this residence. He came home, like I told you, at 1, and I don't even know, my sister heard screaming through the phone. So just like any other sibling, you would think something, but that was it. Like I said, the gun was never here though. So that's all I'm trying to say.
So you didn't just tell us that the gun was at the house and somebody came and got it after the police were there?
His sister. But the gun, I'm trying.
Okay, that's fine.
Because I'm trying to tell you, like,
I got it. I think I understand.
asked did I have the gun. I don't have it, but I know who has the gun. He did not come pick the gun up from, like, the gun was never here.
Got it.
I didn't have the gun.
Were you present when the defendant was telling police he's got lots of registered firearms and he'll
No, I was not.
protect himself? You didn't hear those statements?
No, I actually was nowhere near him.
Okay.
They were interviewing me, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Mr. Sutton is 25 years old, lifelong Georgian, lives on Stanton Road at G56, and Your Honor, he has no prior arrests. He works as a cross-training person at Shake Shack, and of course, I had to joke with him when he said cross-trainer at Shake Shack because of the caloric content of milkshakes. What he does is he trains workers in various tasks. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
And I apologize, Your Honor, the location address is 1700 Stanton Road.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for leaving that out.
No, you're fine. All right, so for each charge, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pre-trial. Level 1 makes for a total of a $6,000 signature bond through pre-trial. Level 1, 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Woodard, relinquish all firearms, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Sutton. Who do we have next?
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Woodard, I wanted to know, I didn't hear anything about a bond or
Okay. I gave him a signature bond, Ms. Woodard, so he'll be released as soon as the jail can process him out, and if he doesn't have anything else holding him, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. Yes, tell me again who we have in courtroom 2.
Commission number 5, Mr. Bentley.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Bentley. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000696A with battery family violence. My understanding this is Mr. Bentley's second arrest with a dismissal of a 2018 obstruction. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we are asking for a $5,000 good bond in this case with conditions no further contact with Quintavious Swain, as well as to stay away from 5717 Sable Glen Road in South Fulton. We have already submitted this case, Judge, for a felony transfer. They just haven't gotten back to us yet. But essentially, the facts allege that this victim got home, saw his room was messed up, so he started picking up stuff. When the defendant came in, jumped on him, grabbed him with an open hand. He had to pepper spray him to get him off. He had visible injuries to neck, chest, and hand. We were able to speak with this victim who let us know they're no longer in a relationship. They do live together at that incident location, but he stated he grabbed him by the neck with both of his hands, began to choke him. He rated the defendant's grip at a 9 out of 10, stated he experienced shortness of breath, dizziness, and was seeing stars. He was hearing buzzing in his ears, and he has some soreness in the neck. So he also stated he thought the defendant was going to kill him in that moment. And this is not even the first time that he's been violent, and not even the first time that he's choked him. This was just the worst time. He stated he only gets like this when he drinks, and that he's not afraid of him because, it's only when he drinks, but the state is still asking for no further contact and a stay away, as well as a $5,000 good bond while we await to hear what the DA has to say. I do believe Mr. Swain is on the Zoom. He did let us know he'd be on if we could sound for him at this time.
Yes, Mr. Swain, if you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can place your hand down, sir. What would you like to tell the court?
The only thing I would like to say is on his behalf, what I can say is to help him out. He's a very good person. I'm not gonna take that away from him. He's a very good person, but he has to get help when it comes to his drinking. He has to get help. He's only violent when he drinks. When he's sober, he's very mannered. He's very soft-spoken. He's very mature. He's very aware of what's going on when he's not drinking. But when he drinks, his awareness and everything else goes out the window. And I fear that we will be here again for two reasons, one to two, if not here. We'll be either here or we'll be at the coroner's office identifying his body because he's went out and done something irate because he's been drinking. I really feel as though he should get some type of help for his drinking. That's the only problem we do have. That's the only problem we've ever had in the relationship, is his drinking. We're no longer together. We stopped being together, whatever the case may be. But I think that's my only concern for his safety is the way he drinks. He drinks.
Thank you, Mr. Swain. Who lives at the Sable Glen Road address?
Well, I was and he was, but I'm no longer there. I went and got all my stuff last night after the incident happened, and I got all of my things. So he's there, and two other occupants, two other of our friends are there.
Okay, so you don't live there anymore?
No, man. No, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Mr. Swain, thank you for being here this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Bentley is 36 years of age. As we all heard, that they're no longer in a relationship. They were residing with friends. Mr. Swain has verified that he no longer is at the residence. I'm asking that my client be allowed to go back to where he resides. He's a lifelong Georgia resident. He does have a 19-year-old son. He completed high school. Mr. Bentley is currently a truck driver, and he also does road construction. He's been doing that for the past 14 years, Your Honor. I didn't hear any significant history. We're unaware of any unreported allegations that the state mentioned, Your Honor. For all those reasons, we're asking for a signature bond on Mr. Bentley's behalf or a bond no more than $1,000.
And Judge, just briefly based on what Mr. Swain says, it sounds like if he really has a drinking problem, probably the best thing we could do for him is hold him at the jail for a few days to sober up, get over that initial hump. You also heard him say that he believes this defendant is a danger to the society. He said he's going to act irate and do something crazy. So I just ask you to consider Mr. Swain's testimony strongly as well.
Your Honor, we would be objecting to all of that. Rice Street is not a sober house or sober living facility, Your Honor. We were asking for a signature bond. Mr. Bentley has not been convicted of any of these allegations. He's surely not charged with any DUI or drinking offenses, Your Honor. So again, we will be asking for a signature bond or a reasonable bond amount to be set.
Okay. It is going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2, an ADET, random drug and alcohol screens, no further contact with Mr. Swain, and obviously no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. I am going to give him a signature bond so that he can get out, but I am going to require him to at least have an alcohol and drug evaluation. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Bentley.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, we'll go with position number 11, Mr. Harrison.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Harrison. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000703J with hit and run, failure to exercise due care, attempting to misrepresent a tag, and expired or no license plate or decal. It's my understanding this is Mr. Harrison's first arrest. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge. On the hit and run, we'd be asking for a $1,000 good bond. On the failure to exercise due care, $500 good bond. Misrepresenting tag, $500 good bond. And on the no license tag, $100 good bond for a total of $2,100. The facts allege that the defendant struck two vehicles and then drove away. The victim, Lorenzo Arnold, quickly hopped in a friend's car and followed him to a dead end. When there, the defendant admitted he was trying to make a call on his cell phone. He dropped the phone to his feet, went to reach for it, and lost control of the car. He struck two separate cars and then drove away. Now, the tag on the car did not belong to his vehicle. The vehicle was had expired registration, and for those reasons, we're asking for that $2,100 good bond.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Harrison, me and him spoke briefly. He's 47 years of age. He's a Georgia resident, originally from Maryland, D.C. He's currently married. I'm not sure if he's been able to get in contact with his wife. He did complete 2 years of college. He attended the University of Maryland. Currently, he's employed. He works as a housekeeper, Your Honor. Given the lack of history, Your Honor, we would be asking for a signature bond on his behalf, or at least a split bond. I'm not sure if he's making a significant amount of money. He expressed that he wouldn't be able to make a high bond amount. But again, we will be asking for a signature bond or at the most a split bond, Your Honor.
For the hit and run, it will be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. For each of the other charges, a $500 signature bond through the jail. Makes for a total of a $2,500 signature bond through the jail. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good
How
luck
much
to you,
is,
Mr.
what's the total?
$3,500 signature bond through the jail.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Good luck to you, Mr. Harrison. Who do we have next?
Next, we have position number 18, Mr. Peterson.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Peterson. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000709Y with 2 counts of battery, family violence, and theft by taking. It's my understanding that this is Mr. Peterson's second arrest with a 2022 possession of marijuana that was dismissed. Yes, Miss Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Police were called on the 10th of February at about 12:58 a.m. Specifically to 199 14th Street. That is not where these folks live together, but where they were at the time. The 911 call came in as someone witnessing a man assault a woman. On scene, police spoke to both the defendant and the victim. The victim's name is Miranda Dix. She was seen to have a visibly swollen, blackened eye, as well as bruises on her face. She reported that her live-in boyfriend had come home and they'd argued. He took her bag and her iPad and refused to return these items, and then he left the location. She followed him to a friend's house where he still refused to give her things. When she went to get her items out of his bag, he started to swing on her and repeatedly punched her. She reported that she tried to fight back, but was unable to do so. Mrs. Dix also reported that there was prior violence and has been prior violence. That last week, a week before this incident, she made a police report to Roswell and neglected to include the fact that the defendant strangled her because she was worried. Today, she decided to make a report and be honest because she's concerned about her health. When the defendant spoke to the police, he said he removed himself from her. He works for customer service. He thought she had damaged some of his equipment for work. He went to a different house. She came over with a friend. He told her, I may have some of your belongings, but if he had them, he didn't mean to take them. She went inside to get her things out of his bag, and he grabbed it, and he claimed that the victim swung at him and they started fighting. We did speak to Mrs. Dix today. She reports that they're in a relationship and live together off Old Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell, that they don't have any children. She confirmed what happened. She says this is not the first time that there's been violence towards her, that she's called the police in the past. But although everything happened as it says in the document, she's not interested in going forward with the case today, and she's not afraid. I would note, Your Honor, that in the multiple jail calls between these two, that story changes over time. In the first jail call, when this young man calls the victim, she tells him that his father cussed her out and called her a whore, that she thinks she has to get a temporary restraining order, that her brothers and her family are not happy with her and don't want her to return back to him, that it'll be 4 weeks before her face will look okay again, that she's being told she shouldn't feel guilty, but she does. And here we are now with, I'm not afraid and I want him to come home. Again, like many of the cases on this docket today, Your Honor, there's a concern for continued intimidation and tampering. We would ask for a $6,000 SOB through pretrial, no contact with Mrs. Dix, to stay away from where they live off Old Holcomb Bridge Road, and to surrender all firearms and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. The defendant does also apologize to the victim and says, I don't know how badly I hurt you, but from what I'm hearing, it's a lot. If you'd call for Mrs. Dix, please.
Okay, Ms. Dix, I see you on the line. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Okay, yes, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, ma'am?
I do ask for the no violence contact. because like she said, I am not afraid. I know he wants to get the help he needs, and we do live together. His income does help me out. We do support each other, and we've been together for a while now. Um, I'm willing to work things out and get the help we both need to continue this and not, not continue the violence part where we've been trying to work that out. We've talked about therapy. You know, we do get into arguments, but it's it's not rare that we, fight a lot. Um, like she said, I have called the police. I didn't tell them what happened. I just told them I just want to get my stuff. That's it. That's all. Um, but like I said, I don't mind having contact with him at all. I'm not afraid of him. Um, and I just want him to come home to get the support he needs and the support from me.
Okay. Is that what happened to your face that I'm seeing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now, Ms. Dix, given what I can see, I'm not going to have you all be around each other right now. Okay, so maybe down the road once this is all resolved. But as far as now goes and what I can see just on this over this Zoom call, I don't think it's good for either of you to be around each other. Okay.
Okay. Am
Thank
I
you.
able? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. What's your question, ma'am?
Am I able to take that no contact off eventually?
As you go forward, his attorney can modify this as you go down, as we go down the road. And if a judge thinks that it's appropriate, then they'll do that. But if maybe he gets some help or something of that nature, and somebody sees that he's getting some help, and you all still want to have contact, then down the road. But for now, it's going to be no contact, and no contact is going to be absolutely no contact. Okay, until this is resolved. Okay, thank you for being here, Ms. Dix. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Jose Peterson has been in Georgia all his life. He's 22 years old. He graduated high school. He is a housing specialist at 211 LA. That's a company that provides housing information, I believe. We would ask the court under these circumstances to simply give him a signature bond with appropriate conditions.
Okay, for each of the battery charges, will be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the theft, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Dix, stay away from the Holcomb Bridge Road address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you both.
Your Honor, will you specifically put in the order for him to surrender any firearms, please?
Firearms in the household, or if he has any firearms, they should be surrendered. All right. Who do we have next?
We have Mr. Walker, position number 23, Mr. Walker.
Good afternoon, Mr. Walker. You have been charged in case 25 CR 0000707E with simple assault, disorderly conduct, and reckless conduct. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
21. He been in custody since July. Got an open ag assault, 23 SC 188266. On probation out of Houston County, theft by receiving. Identity fraud. Also on probation out of Houston County, theft by deception. 2019, 2020 probation. 2016 affray, theft by taking, trespass conviction.
Allen?
Your Honor, this is an incident that occurred at the jail, January the 25th. or actually February the 5th. The document actually says 2 different dates. The victim is Jonathan Stiles, who is a cross defendant, also on our docket today, but I believe a waiver. Also in jail for an aggravated assault. The gentleman in front of you, Mr. Walker, has had more than 6 jail incidences since July when he was arrested on his failure to appear for that open aggravated assault. Violent incidences against individuals there at the jail. This one, he spit on Mr. Stiles, behaved in a disorderly and reckless manner when he spit his body fluids at this defendant, and used foul language and behaving violently at the jail, Your Honor. Mr. Stiles is charged with a single count of disorderly because he engaged, but he didn't spit on anyone. We'd ask for $8,000 surety. That's $2,000 on each of the counts. Number 246, a $6,000 surety. Sorry about that. No contact with Mr. Stiles. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. McLeod.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 27 years old. As the state has stated, he has been in jail for quite some time, almost a year, based on my discussions with him. So, of course, he doesn't have any money to pay bond. He tells me that he expects to be going to court on his other case, on the felony case, very soon in early March, Your Honor, and he believes that at that time there may be a plea offer which would allow him to get out of jail. Based on that, I would ask the court to consider giving him a signature bond, because of course he would not be getting out of jail right now anyway. But he anticipates that there might be a resolution for the felony case within the next 3 to 4 weeks. Nothing further, Your Honor.
It'll be $1,000 good bond on each charge, makes for a total of a $3,000 good bond. To the extent that he can stay away from Mr. Stiles being in the jail, no further contact with Mr. Stiles, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. You can seek a modification if he does, Ms. McLeod, if he does either bond out or plead out on that other case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Good luck to you, Mr. Walker. Ms. McLeod, he had a question, but apparently
it's okay. If he wants to ask.
Well,
Mr. Walker, was this about your bond?
For discharge?
Yes. We're only addressing anything that's related to this charge today.
Basically I was getting called out my name. And
I want you to discuss the facts.
I was getting called out my name, that's it.
Okay, you'll be able to deal with that as you go down the road, sir. Okay. All right. Good luck to you, sir. All right. It's my understanding that position number 13 is being reset until tomorrow.
Correct.
Is that a behavioral reset until tomorrow? And the other 2 cases, I believe that we have waivers. The first
17 and 21.
Yes, the first one is Miss Angela Morrow. We are familiar, at least I'm familiar with Miss Morrow. I think that I just recently, after getting her placement or something of that nature, released her. What's going on? Ms. Morrow is charged in case 25 CR 0000694F with criminal trespass. And I believe that a number of her charges were of the same nature. Is that right, Ms. Allen?
Yes, Your Honor, this is an additional criminal trespass for refusing to leave Grady Hospital, returning after being escorted multiple times after she'd been released, and generally yelling at medical staff and security officers. It looks like she just pled guilty to and has a suspended balance for criminal trespass at Grady in 24 CR 00762B. And that was in front of Judge Law. She's supposed to maintain medication compliance and continue MH treatment. And then with you in September of 2024 in 24 CR 006-377C, again, criminal trespass at Grady, where her balance was suspended when she entered that plea. We'd be asking for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, to stay away from that location unless it's an emergency, and mental health compliance. And I'm guessing maybe competency calendar.
Yes. Mr. McLean?
Nothing to add or disagree with there, Your Honor. I did get a chance to talk to her. She's lucid. She agrees that medication compliance on her part is a problem here and that it's necessary, and that not doing that gets her in trouble.
We had the same issues the last number of times, so let's place her back on a competency calendar to see what we can do to help her. When is the next what competency calendar can we get her on?
2 weeks from now would be the 27th.
27?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so it'll be $1,000 good bond. Stay away from Grady unless she's seeking medical treatment. She'll be placed on a competency calendar on the 27th. And prior to that time, again, Mr. McLean, can we get a social worker visit with her so that we can get some recommendations on that calendar as to how we can help her?
Right, Your Honor. Mr. Harris is our, we have a rotation of people assigned to whoever comes through in a particular week, and Mr. Harris and I will be talking about today's batch. We call it a batch, even if it's one.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
The final case is position 21, Mr. John Stiles, who has been charged in case 25 CR 000705B with disorderly conduct. Mr. Howard.
31. Open case in Superior Court, possession of cocaine, failure to use turn signal. Got an open case in State Court, battery DV, simple assault DV, simple battery DV. He's been in custody since March of last year. 2020 disorderly conduct conviction, 2020 FTA, 2018 and 17 parole violation, and 2016 battery conviction.
Balance is the same as the
Yes,
last
Your Honor,
case.
this is the co-defendant with Mr. Walker. Mr. Stiles is charged with disorderly for using vulgar, opprobrious language or fighting words and engaging in a manner that's violent in the Fulton County Jail. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety and to the extent it's possible, like you said, to stay away from Mr. Walker.
Okay. Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, Mr. Stiles waived his presence. He's 50. He has a GED education, a high school education. He's been disabled for 7 years with arthritis. Before his disability with arthritis, he used to work in a trucking fleet, changing tires, checking tires, doing all kinds of things, mechanical type of work. Your Honor, in this instance, he is in jail on another matter, a felony. I don't have as accurate for my client a trial date or hope to get out date type thing as her client may have had. It may be very similar coming up in the next few months or the next few weeks. We would ask the court, considering that those are the bigger fish to fry and that they will be looking at what's appropriate, we'd ask the court to consider a signature bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, it'll be $1,000 good bond, no further contact with Mr. Walker, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. I'll see them both back on the February 25th SAP calendar. we'll address it then. Okay, I believe that completes the 2 o'clock calendar. Ms. Bridgewater, whenever you're ready for us.
Yes, sir. Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is February the 25th. Position number 1 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. Position number 2 is going to the SAP calendar with a $2,500 good bond. Position number 3 is reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial with a cosigner. Position number 4 is medically reset till tomorrow. Position 5 is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 6 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. 7 SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. 8 SAP calendar with a total $5,500 good bond. 9 reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 10 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 11 reset further notice with a total $3,500 SOB through the jail. 12 SAP calendar with a total $6,000 good bond. 13 is behavior reset to the calendar tomorrow at 2. 14 is reset further notice with a total $3,500 SOB through pretrial. 15 is going to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. 16 reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 17 is going to the comp calendar for February the 27th with a $1,000 good bond. 18 is reset further notice with a $5,000 total SOB through pretrial. 19 reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 20 reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 21 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 22 reset further notice with a total $6,000 SOB through pretrial. 23 SAP calendar with a total $3,000 good bond. 24 SAP calendar with a total $500 good bond. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
What was that amount on 14 again?
14 is, let me get to it, is total $3,500 SOB through pretrial.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any others?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If not, you all have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next time.
Okay, take care.
Hi,
Bye-bye.
Miss McLeod.
Ay, 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 ay. I'm talking about like